Hello and greetings, everyone. I'm Pastor Edwin Strickland, and I serve as the Senior Pastor of Fellowship of Champions Church International, a worldwide ministry helping people to learn to live out their God-given dreams by walking in love and living by faith. And I get to be your host and your guide for this exciting journey that we're about to take that we call Ed Talk with Pastor Strick. Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on what time you may be watching or listening to this podcast. But I want to say hello to all of you, to all of my listeners, and I wanted to welcome you back to another episode of Ed Talk with Pastor Strick. I am your host, Pastor Strick, and it is a pleasure to be here with you once again. You guys know that here on Ed Talk, we come together every week, and our goal is to blend the realm of knowledge and instruction and faith with real world solutions. And so whether you're on a quest seeking to expand your knowledge base, whether you just stop by because you want to uplift your soul, or you want to find common ground between the practical and the spiritual, I want you to know that you are in the right place today. Welcome, welcome, welcome to another episode of Ed Talk with Pastor Strick. I am thrilled to have yet another opportunity to speak with all of you today. But before we get into today's topic, let me just go ahead and ask you to do what I always ask you to do, which is to let me know where you are watching from. If you are watching this broadcast live via Facebook or YouTube, let me know where you're watching from. Just go to the comment section and just hashtag the word live or hashtag the word whatever your city is. It can be Little Rock, it can be Austin, it can be Richmond, it can be New York City. Wherever you are watching from, go ahead and let me know where you are watching from and also what platform you are using, whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook. That's just for me. I like to go back and look at the analytics and see where people are watching from. It's always interesting to see how people found the Ed Talk podcast, whether someone shared it with you, whether you were just scrolling by and you happened to see it. So if you would just pleasure me with that, I'd appreciate it. Just hashtag the word live, or if you're not watching it live, hashtag the word replay. Ms. Brooks, good morning to you. And if you would just let me know where you're watching from, I would be appreciative of that. Another thing you can do is you can help me out real quick by simply sharing this broadcast. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, you can just share it to your page, share it to your story. If you will hit the like button, the love button, the care button, give it some reaction. That will help the analytics get out to more and more people. You can tag your friends and you can tag other people who you think would benefit from this. You can even share it to a group if you have permission to share it in those groups. Don't share it in any group where you don't have permission or where that could get you in Facebook jail or something like that. Also, just as a reminder, there are multiple ways in which you can connect with me. If you want to connect with me on YouTube, you can simply go to www.pastorstrick.com. That takes you directly to my YouTube page. You can subscribe. And if you haven't subscribed, I hope that you would subscribe to that YouTube channel. We're always trying to increase our number of subscribers. And so if you haven't subscribed, but you take a moment and go to YouTube by going to www.pastorstrick.com and then liking and subscribing to that YouTube page. Even if you happen to listen to it on someplace else, I'd appreciate you doing that. If you interact on Facebook, there's a way that you can always connect with me, and that is via my Ed Talk Facebook page by simply going to www.facebook.com, and then after the / it's all one word, Ed Talk with Pastor Strick. And if you do that, you can go to my Facebook page. If you haven't liked the page, go and do that as well. I post during the week different things there. Sometimes it's just funny stuff, but sometimes it's just things to make you think. Sometimes it's an encouraging word, and sometimes it's a statement that just makes you think about maybe something you haven't thought about before, or maybe thinking about it from a different perspective. Okay. Also, if you say, nope, I'm a podcast kind of person, I'm a podcast girl, I'm a podcast guy, Not a problem. You don't even have to try to search for the name. Just go to www.pastorstrickpodcast. And if you go to pastorstrickpodcast.com, it'll bring you to a landing page. And on that landing page is a multiple list of various platforms that you can find this show on. And whichever one you like listening on, you can just click it and listen there. Not just to this broadcast, but this is season 3 for us. And so you can go back to season 1, to season 2, and listen to any of those episodes on any of the things that you missed. Or maybe it's just a topic at the time that it didn't resonate with you the way that you maybe needed it to, but now you're going through something, or you have experienced something in your life and now you need a refresher. You can go back and you can listen to those episodes. All right. So with that being said, again, I appreciate each and every one of you being here, but let's get into today's subject. Today, we're going to be talking about living positively in challenging times. Living positively in challenging times, because I don't know if anybody else has noticed it, but there are a lot of things happening in our world. Politics is going crazy. Our economy and inflation is out of control. The price of gas and food is up higher than it's ever been. We have issues with people not being able to afford affordable housing. Some people say that our schools are in shambles. It's just a lot of negative stuff happening in our world. And if we're not careful, we can allow that negativity to slowly but gradually creep into our lives. The Bible says it like this. It says that a little yeast will make the whole cake rise. Well, you know, those of you who are bakers, you can just put just a little yeast in that dough and it impacts the entire dough. And so we don't want negativity to be the yeast in our lives that makes the negativity in our life grow. And so today I'm just going to come by. I just want to share an encouraging word, and then I'm going to get out of here and I'm going to give you a chance to implement what we're talking about today, which is how do you live positively during these challenging times? And so today on the Ed Talk podcast, what we're going to do is to embark on a journey of discovery towards personal resilience and well-being, especially right in the face of life's inevitable challenges. As a pastor, and I don't pastor a mega church. We got a couple of hundred people who are partners of our church, either locally or virtually. But even with just those numbers, those smaller numbers, a couple of hundred people, I'm probably talking to a dozen to 24 people every week about various challenges that they're facing, whether it's challenges in their relationships, whether it's challenges in their physical health, there's mental health, their spiritual health, whether it's challenges with their vocation, with their children, with their spouses. People are experiencing challenges like never before. And I believe it is so important that we learn how to remain resolute, that we remain resilient, that we stay positive. And positivity doesn't mean ignoring, right, the things that are happening, but it's about learning how to set our minds and set our wheels so that we spend more time focused on the positive outcomes that we believe are possible rather than the temporary challenges that we may be facing. In fact, the truth of the matter is that each of us faces our own set of hurdles in the thing we call life. If you are alive today, you know that at some point life has lifed against you. Things haven't gone the way you planned. Things didn't work out the way you expected. People have disappointed you. People have let you down. People you came through for didn't show up for you. We have all had those experiences. In fact, if you're listening to me right now and you say, yep, I've had one of those experiences, I need you to run to the comment section and just type the number 1. Type the number 1. Let me know I'm not just talking to myself. Let me know that I'm not the only person who has experienced some disappointment in life in which I was not expecting. Because we all face hurdles at some point in our life. The question becomes, how do we respond to these challenges? And I'm here to tell you today that the way we respond to these challenges can and will profoundly shape the quality of our days in this thing we call life. And so today I want to share with you 10, you heard me right, 10 transformative steps that I sincerely believe can help each and every one of us not only learn to cope with these challenges, but to thrive in spite of them. And so if you've got some pen and paper beside you, uh, you can just jot these 10 things down. And then as we go through them, maybe some of them you do, maybe some of you need to do more often. Some of them, maybe you don't do it all and you need to start doing in your life. But these are the things that I have learned in my own personal life, my own lived experiences, that if I do them consistently, no matter what may be facing me in my life, I can still live positively in these challenging times. Okay. So I'm going to run through what we're going to talk about, and then we're going to talk about it, because I was told a long time ago by a really great preacher that I admire. He says, if you're going to walk people through something, if you're going to teach people something, you need to use a 3-step process. And here's his 3-step process. He says, you need to tell the people what you're going to tell them. He says, then you need to tell the people what you said you were going to tell them. He says, and then you need to wrap up by making sure you told them what you said you were going to tell them. So that's what today's going to be. Not a lot of flash, not a lot of hype, but we're going to talk about these 10 powerful practices that we can do, that we can practice on a daily basis. Nobody can take them from us. And it doesn't matter whether we're in the worst situation of our lives or the best situation of our lives. We can do these 10 things every single day. And I guarantee you that you will begin to see your life in a more positive light, even in spite of challenges. So the first thing we're going to explore is this idea of how to practice gratitude. Gratitude is about recognizing the good that's already present in our lives, which can sometimes be overshadowed by our struggles. A lot of times people think, well, I don't have a lot to be thankful for. I don't have a lot that I can be grateful for. But it's funny, I was talking to someone the other day and I said, can you imagine if we played a game, right? And we had 100 people play a game. And the game was you had to take all of your problems and you had to throw them down on the ground, okay? But the key is you had to pick up somebody else's problems. And you didn't know what other people's problems were until you picked them up. Most people would not sign up to play that game. Most people would say, you know what, I've got some problems, but I know for a fact that there are, out of 100 people, there are people who have problems worse than mine, right? There may be some who don't have it as bad, but am I willing to throw down my problems to pick up somebody else's? And the reality is we need to learn how to handle what our issues are and be grateful for how that they aren't as bad as they could be, while believing God that they will get better. So we'll talk about a little bit more about gratitude. And then next we'll dive into the importance of what I call optimism. I'll guide you through the process of finding and how to find the silver lining in difficult situations. Jesus says it like this. He says, in this world, you will have troubles. Okay, so he lets us know we're going to have trouble, but he didn't leave us there. He says, I'll need you to be optimistic. Where did the optimism come from? He says, because in me, I've already overcome the world. And if you are in me, then you too have overcome the world. So, of course, when we talk about optimism, it isn't about ignoring the negative that's around us, but it's more about finding a balance that allows us to remain hopeful and motivated, even when we are experiencing the negative. Negative things are going to happen. Bad things are going to happen. My wife and I use a term like this. At some point, you're going to get sucker punched, right? You're going to take a blow that you weren't expecting. You're going to get hit by something that you hadn't planned for. But even in those situations, you can learn how to be optimistic. The third thing we'll talk about is this idea or concept of positive self-talk. Because the words we tell ourselves are so crucial, today we're going to learn how to transform our internal dialogues into supportive and empowering conversations, which can dramatically influence how we both perceive and address all of life's challenges. We'll also talk about the impact of the people and the content that we have around us. Dr. Ivy Hilliard famously says this all the time, and that is that your environment is always working on you. And since our environment is always working on us, And in fact, our environment is working to change us more than we're working to change it. It's important for us to understand that it matters who we have around us and who we allow speak into our lives and who we allow to support us and who we allow to guide us. So we'll talk about the importance of surrounding ourselves with positive influence, surrounding ourselves with positive faith-filled others. This means making intentional choices about who and what we allow into our lives, ensuring that they uplift and support us rather than tearing us down or dragging us down. Then we'll move on to talking about setting and achieving goals, which is our fifth step, and how you need to have realistic goals. Those realistic goals should follow the SMART criteria. You heard of the SMART criteria before. They need to be specific, right? They need to be measurable. They need to be obtainable. They need to be realistic, and they need to be time sensitive. Why? Because having a goal is almost a form of direction. It lets you know the direction you're supposed to go in. Why is that important? Because a SMART goal will provide a sense of direction and accomplishment, which is especially important during tough times. Anybody can be on the right track when things are going well. You know, I tell the story about how when I had realized I had gotten up to 267 pounds, which was the most I had personally ever weighed, and I needed to lose the weight. And it seems like every day there was a reason why I had to not go and walk like I was supposed to, or not eat like I was supposed to, or not intermediate fast like I was supposed to. It was all of these reasons. But I remember every time I walked in my bathroom, I had a number on that piece of paper on my mirror. It was my goal. It was the thing I was working from. And so even when the motivation to lose the weight was gone, I had the discipline and the determination to do so. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And then we'll talk about this idea of mindfulness and meditation. It's going to be our sixth step. These tools help us to stay present and engaged, reducing stress and engaging our overall well-being. Now, the truth of the matter is sometimes people hear the word mindfulness and they start to think something about Eastern, world meditation. But the fact of the matter is you need to be mindful, right? Being mindful helps you to stay present in the moment. In other words, what's going on right now? I'm not thinking about things that can go wrong down the road. I'm not thinking about the things that happened in the past. I'm thinking about how do I engage my life right now today so that I can be present and engaged, which will reduce my stress and it will enhance my overall well-being. And so I'm going to share just a few simple techniques that you can incorporate into your daily routine starting today. Remember, we're just coming off of our series where we were talking about building better habits. If you missed the Building Better Habits podcast, I encourage you to go back and listen to it about how to build better daily habits. I get so much more done now that I understand what it means to have a daily habit and to how to build that habit so that it actually works for me and not against me every day. And part of that is this idea of mindfulness and meditation. And then, of course, we'll talk about in step 7, how important it is to take care of our physical health. We must take care of our physical health. You know, I'm 52 years old, and I was joking with a good friend of mine this past week who I had a chance to visit. And we were just talking about that literally, it seems like, I know it's not, but it seems like we were just graduating high school. And we just talked about how fast the years have gone by. And then we started talking about some of our classmates who have gone on, who've transitioned from this world, right? They passed away. They had all kinds of health issues. And when we think about that, we said it's crazy, man, because we're just 52. You know, we're not 152. We're just 52 years old. And so we're going to talk a little bit about why it's important for you to take care of your physical health. If you know it's important, if you know it, even if you're not doing it, but you know it's important to take care of your physical health, I need you to put a 2 in the comment. And if you know you could do better in taking care of your physical health, I need you to put a 2 in the comment. Because if you don't have this earth suit, If you don't have this body, if your lungs, if your heart, if your digestive system, if your if your endocrine system, if your physiological body parts aren't working properly, you're not going to be your best self. You're not going to be your best self. And so we'll talk a little bit about that. And that's going to flow directly into our next step, which is about how you cope with stress. If you don't, which is why we want to talk about mindfulness and meditation, because if you do not manage your stress, it can negatively impact your well-being. And there's so many things happening. People are nervous about the next election. People are nervous about the interest rate. People are nervous about the price of rent going up. People are nervous about the price of gas. People are nervous about the cost of food. People are nervous about the cost of education. There's so many different things happening in our world that if we don't find a way to deal and cope with effectively the stress that comes along with all of that, if we don't understand how that thing can trigger us, and if we don't learn how to manage them with a significant level of effectiveness, then they can have a negative impact on our lives. And so I'm going to provide you a few practical tools for learning how to do that. One of the things I say all the time, and I learned this years ago, and I say it like this. I don't want to use the word, because the Bible says don't worry. So I'm not using the term like that, but I'm going to say it like this. I don't worry about things I can't change. I ask myself all the time when something happens, is this in my local area of control? Can I do something to have a direct outcome with this situation? If it's something that I can't, then I don't spend time stressing about it. And if it's something that needs to be changed, I take it to God in prayer. And if it's something that I can do to have a direct impact, I ask God, how should I proceed? Because when you learn to do that, then you release some of that stress that's happening in your life. And then our ninth step, we're going to focus on the benefits of helping other people. A lot of people don't realize that you could get rid of some of the stress in your life. You could get rid of some of the negativity. You could begin to experience more positive release in your life if you would actually take the time to help other people, especially when those people can't do anything for you. It's not a quid pro quo kind of help. It's not I'm going to help you and you help me. It's I'm going to go out of my way and I'm going to do something for someone without any expectation that they can turn around and do something for me. It releases a type of endorphin in your body that allows you to feel more energetic. It's the same feeling you get if you were to eat sugar. It activates the same place in your brain. Without the empty calories. So you can help people and get that same high by just being a person who looks for opportunities to help other people. Acts of kindness and volunteering not only enrich the lives of the recipient, but it also brings immense joy and fulfillment to our own lives, enhancing our sense of community and connection. And so if you haven't helped somebody lately, if you work in the office, I told someone the other day, they were talking about how they didn't feel included at work. They didn't feel connected. And I asked them, I said, the next time you go to your break room to get coffee, I said, get an extra cup. And then when you're walking back to your cubicle, if there's someone who drinks coffee and their cup is low, ask them if they would like a cup of coffee. Or better yet, before you go get coffee, ask them if you could get them a cup. And it was funny. They came back and they said, "Oh my goodness, I did that. And now me and my coworker who used to didn't talk very much, we talk and we have some of the same things in common and blah, blah, blah." Listen, being kind, showing kindness, helping other people opens up a whole new realm of positivity that can flow into your life. And then finally, number 10, we'll talk about reflection and adjustment. Reflection and adjustment. Whether we know it or not, life is simply a continuous learning process. That's all it is. Life is a continuous learning process. And by regularly assessing our strategies and by regularly making the necessary adjustments, we can ensure that we are always moving forward in life, not just surviving, through the days, but actually thriving in everything that we do. And so hopefully by the end of this session, you'll feel equipped and inspired to implement these 10 steps in your own life, creating a foundation of resilience and positivity. So let's jump into talking about these steps. The first one we're going to talk about is this idea of practicing gratitude. Again, cultivating a habit of gratitude can profoundly influence your mindset. By keeping a gratitude journal or by keeping a record of all the things that you are grateful for, you can make a daily practice of thanking God for all that He has done in your life. Sometimes we forget because we don't write them down. We try to keep them in our head, and what happens is all the negativity just begins to overwhelm us. People know this about me. I have an old Bible that I keep. And in that old Bible, the promises of God that have come to pass in my life, they have the initials T and T written beside them. Somebody says, what does that mean? It means tried and true. So there are times I'll just take that old Bible and just begin to flip through the pages. And I just start seeing all the T and T's. I just see all the T and T's, all the highlighted things from the book of Romans and Ephesians and Corinthians and Colossians and Thessalonians and the Gospels. And I see all of these things that God has promised to me that have come to pass. And even though the thing I'm dealing with right now may be frustrating to me, it may be a little overwhelming for me, this practice of gratitude helps to ground me. It helps to keep me grounded. When I thank God for the little things, it gives me great pleasure to remember that whatever He did for me before, He can do for me again. And over time, what happens is this practice of being grateful, this practice of gratitude, a true practice of it, it begins to help shift my focus from the deficiencies I'm experiencing to the abundance that I've been promised. Did you hear that? When I begin to practice gratitude, it shifts my mindset from the focus of deficiencies or the deficits in my life to the abundance in my life that has been promised. It begins to enhance my overall appreciation and satisfaction. And so right now, we're going to do something that I usually don't do on the podcast, but we're going to do it. If you are listening, okay, if you are listening, I don't care how bad things are, in the comment section, type one thing that you're grateful for today. Just type one thing. There's about 25 of you guys listening live right now. Just one thing that you're grateful for. One thing. I woke up this morning. My kids are not in the hospital. I had a roof over my head. I had gas to go to work. I have a job. I love my spouse. My spouse loves me. Josh says, I'm grateful for my dog. Look, he's grateful to have a companion. Somebody says, my son getting health insurance. Listen, if they're over the age of 26, that's a great thing because they can't be on our insurance anymore. Kim says, I'm thankful for the air that I have been given to breathe. Amen. Heather says, I'm thankful for my daughter. Ms. Gann says that I am grateful for health, strength, and connection. I'm telling you guys, if we wanted to, we could literally sit here the rest of this broadcast and we could list the things that we are grateful for. We actually have a lot of things to be grateful for in spite of the negativity that is happening in our world. So if you want to live positively in challenging times, one of the things you have to get used to doing is practicing gratitude. You know, every morning, I know we hustle and bustle, and I know we like to sleep until the alarm goes off and hit the snooze button until the last minute. Then we got to jump up and start our day. But I challenge you to give yourself an extra 10 minutes. Every morning, an extra 10 minutes before you start your day. You ain't even got to get out of the bed. Lay there in the bed and just begin to go over in your mind what you're thankful for. If you're not careful, you'll have to stop at the 10-minute mark. Now, that first day, it may be hard because your mind is going to try to tell you all the stuff that is not right. You don't have enough money. You don't have anybody to spend your life with. Your parents are sick. Your spouse is sick. Your kids are not living right. You need this money for school for them. You need this for them to go to college. Your job isn't paying you enough. The people don't appreciate. Listen, your mind is going to go through all the things. But just like anything, you have to practice. Somebody put that in the comment section. Say, I have to practice. I have to practice. I have to practice. Why? Because if I practice listing all the things I'm grateful for, what's going to happen over the course of the next 7 to 14 to 21 to 28 to 35 days, you're going to end up having to stop yourself at the 10-minute mark because you're going to have to get up and go to work, and you're not even going to be through thanking God for all that he's done for you. And so we have to practice gratitude. That's number one. Number two, we said you had to cultivate optimism. You have to cultivate optimism. One of the ways you cultivate optimism is by doing what we just talked about. If you practice gratitude, it will make you more optimistic and less pessimistic. When you don't spend time being thankful, you become very pessimistic. How do I know? Anybody out there got kids? If you have had kids, you had nieces, nephews, cousins, anybody have you raised, you've seen this play out. You have done something nice for them. You have given them some toy they wanted. You took them to Mickey D's. You took them to Burger King. These newfangled kids, they like Ruth Chris. So you take them to Ruth Chris, or you take them to Fuji. You take them to some restaurant that they love. You buy them some toy that they want from Amazon or their local toy shop. And then 3 hours later, they ask if they can have ice cream. And you say, well, no, you can't have ice cream because you already had a sweet. Oh, I don't ever get to do anything. I don't never get nothing. Nobody loves me. You don't do anything for me. Why? They're not practicing gratitude. And when you don't practice gratitude, what you end up cultivating is pessimism over optimism. Okay? So you got to cultivate optimism. Again, optimism doesn't mean ignoring life's challenges, but it involves framing life's challenges in a more positive light. Okay, in a more positive light. What do I mean by that? I mean, you and I have the ability to assign new meaning to things. What do I mean? Well, we've all been driving on the interstate or on the highway before, and somebody will come by and be angry and maybe flip us the bird. Well, there's two ways you can take that. You can say, oh, I know they didn't. I know they did not flip me the bird. They think they're the only one who can do that. I'll show them. And then you speed up and you flip them 2 birds. Okay, that's one way to handle it, not the best way. Or you can assign new meaning to what they did. And you can say, you know what? I don't know what's going on in that person's life. I didn't do anything to them. I don't know what they're angry about. Maybe they just got some bad news. Maybe they just lost their job. Maybe they just lost a child. Maybe they just lost a spouse. Maybe they just found out their spouse was cheating on them. Maybe they just realized somebody took all the money from their bank account. I don't know what they're going through, but I'm going to assign new meaning to this. I'm going to be grateful. Here we go. That all they did was flip me the bird. And I'm going to cultivate optimism by saying, God, I thank you that whatever they're going through and making them act like that, I'm not experiencing it. And that's how you live it out. I'm going to practice gratitude, and I'm going to cultivate the optimism. See, optimism allows me to reframe what's happening. It empowers me to then be able to tackle the actual issues void of over-emotionalism. It allows me to do so with a proactive attitude rather than a reactive attitude. It allows me to view obstacles as chances to learn and grow rather than something that happened against me and something that I can't control. Okay? So number one, we said that you are going to have to practice gratitude. Number two, we said you got to cultivate optimism. Number three, we said you need to engage in positive self-talk. You need to start engaging in more positive self-talk. The way that some people talk to themselves should be a crime. The things they call themselves, the things they say about themselves and what they can't do and how no one should love them, and no one's going to love them, and they deserve whatever bad happened to them, is so dangerous. The most important thing you will ever hear is what you say about you. Somebody says, oh, no, it's what my mama said about me. No, no, no. It's not what your mama said about you. It's what you heard your mama say. And then what you kept saying to yourself that had that impact on you. The most important thing you will ever hear anyone say is what you say to yourself. When we talk about positive self-talk, the dialogue you have with yourself significantly influences your self-esteem and resilience. By noticing when you engage in negative self-talk and consciously replacing it with positive affirmations, you begin to foster a much more supportive inner voice. What you start to do is to regularly affirm your own capabilities and your own efforts, such as reminding yourself of things like, I am capable of overcoming this, rather than saying, I don't know what I'm going to do. You start to say things like, I am capable of solving this problem, rather than saying, I am going to be doomed. You start to make positive affirmations, because the most important thing that you're going to believe is what you say about yourself. By doing this, you start to build up your own confidence and reduce the impact of stress. My wife used to laugh at me, and I get it now. But I've always been a bit concrete sequential, right? And because I'm type A, concrete sequential, there's sometimes I don't get nuances. I don't get certain nuances sometimes. And sometimes that's a good thing, and sometimes it's not. And so when I started pastoring and was working with my wife, and we were counseling people, people would talk about having low self-esteem. And I never understood the concept of low self-esteem. Because to me, people talked about low self-esteem as what someone said about them. But the truth of the matter is, the key to it is in the description. What do I mean? Self-esteem comes from self. The world tries to tell us that self-esteem actually comes from other people. But it actually doesn't come from other people. It may start with other people, but it's what we believe about us. And so if I can choose to believe your words about me, watch this, I can choose to believe my words about me. So if your words about me are negative, I actually have the power to say positive things about me. And my positive words about me is going to overrule what you say about me, because the most important thing I will ever hear is what I say about me. So I have to learn to engage in positive self-talk. The way I do that is, from a biblical sense, I say about me what God says about me. So I never say I'm not loved, because God says I'm loved. I never say I'm alone, because God said I would never leave you friendless. I would never leave you fatherless. I would never leave you nor forsake you. So I don't say things about myself that don't align with what God has said about me. Okay. The Bible says I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. So I don't say things to myself like I'm a mistake. I don't say those things. Why? Because they don't align with what I believe about me. And so if you have been engaged in this wrong self-talk, I'm encouraging you today to start saying the positive things. So we're going to do this again, because this is what we do here today. I need everybody in the comment section to put one positive thing about yourself in the comment section, and it can't be about your looks. It needs to be about your content or your character. Put one positive thing in the comment section. I'm a good friend. I'm a good listener. I care for people. I'm helpful. I'm nice. I'm sweet. But you got to put one positive thing about yourself in the comment section. I need you to do that. I need you to do that right now. I am love. I'm a loyal friend. I have excess joy. I love that. I'm loving. I'm kind. I'm a great coach. I am loyal. I'm a good listener, an encourager. I'm encouraging. I love it. Come on, the rest of you, y'all need to put this in. You need to participate and put this in the comment section. I am creative. I am loyal. I check on others. There were times I had to remind myself, I'm a good pastor. I'm a good husband. I'm a good father. Am I perfect? No, but I'm good. I'm good, and you have to start talking to yourself in that way. Mama says I'm kind. She sure enough is. Courtney says I'm smart and resourceful. Of course you are, and you gotta start doing this. Mr. Lucas says I'm truthful. That's a good thing. People can trust people who are truthful. So you have to begin to say those positive things. Why? Because when you look at our first 3 steps, we said practice gratitude, we said cultivate optimism, and then we said engage in positive self-talk. If you begin to do those 3 things, I'm telling you, just those 3, 30% of the 10 of the 100% of the things we're going to talk about today, your life will be changed. Ms. Moore says, I'm smart. I'm a giver. I love that. See, the more you talk about it, the more things come to mind. And this is what happens when you begin to cultivate optimism and practice gratitude. It just keeps going. It just keeps going. It just keeps going. It just keeps going. And when you put your 2 feet on the ground in the morning, by the time you do that, you are ready to take on the day. You are ready to take on the day. Now, how do we keep this going? Because here's our first 3 things, but how do we keep this going? Number 4, you surround yourself with other positive people or other positive influences. Your environment is always working on you. Your environment is always working on you. In fact, I need you to put that in the comment section. Come on, y'all. Y'all with me now. Put this in the comment section. Say, my environment is always working on me. My environment is always working on me. You know, people say things like this. They say, well, you know, Jesus hung out with sinners. Jesus actually did not hang out with sinners. Jesus encountered sinners, and then they were sinners no more. He didn't hang out with them. Jesus encountered them. He was where they were. And then they became like him. Why? Because that environment of Jesus was working on them. You have to know, sometimes we overestimate ourselves. The Bible says not to think more highly of ourselves than we ought to. Romans 12:3. Not to think more highly of ourselves than we ought to. Sometimes we go into environments that we shouldn't be in because we're not strong enough to be in those environments. You think you're going to change them, and they end up changing you. And so that's why you got to make sure that you're surrounding yourself. It doesn't mean I don't ever hang around someone who may not be as positive. But I can't surround myself with all negative people, and I'm the only positive person in the group. Why? Because eventually that environment is going to get in and on and through me. But your environment is always working on you. Why do I say that? Because the environment and the company that you keep can and will drastically affect your outlook on life. By choosing to spend time with people who uplift and support you, and by engaging with uplifting things, whether that be media, social media, the news, or in person, what you do is you create a positive feedback loop in your environment. And everybody needs a positive feedback loop. You need someone who you can share good news with, and they will tell you, good job, and God still has more for you. You need someone who can come to you and tell you, hey, you know what? I'm struggling today. It's hard. And you'll be the person who says, this may be hard, but I know you can make it. Everybody needs a positive feedback loop in their environment. When you get a positive feedback loop in your environment, it can be so positive in your life. And it doesn't have to be complicated. It can be something as simple as listening to an inspiring podcast like today. Maybe it's reading a book. Maybe it's talking with the friends. Maybe it's one of the things me and my wife do is we dream. We talk about what we want to do in the next year, in the next 5 years, the next 10 years. We're creating this positive feedback loop so that even if everything around us is kind of helter-skelter at the moment, We are practicing these things. We are practicing every day how to have better gratitude. We're practicing every day how to cultivate optimism. We're practicing every day in how to improve our positive self-talk, and we surround ourselves with positive influences. Many of you know I'm a pastor. I pastor Fellowship of Champions Church. In case you didn't know, you can see the name right back there. I pastor Fellowship of Champions Church, and some people ask me sometimes, they say, why do you call your church Fellowship of Champions? And I always say, well, what's the alternative? Fellowship of Losers? No, I surround myself with positive others. People who come to FOC, they believe they can win. Why? Because that's part of our motto. Part of our motto says that we at our church are a skills-based ministry, teaching people how to walk in love, live by faith, so that they can experience God's prosperity in every area of life. I want to surround myself with other people who believe that. When I say I want to see everybody win, I really do. I want to see everybody win. I want to see everybody win. And if you want to see everybody win, if you are a champion and you want to see other people be champions, go ahead and put a 3 in the comment section. Go ahead and just put a 3 in the comment. If you're not selfish, if you don't mind other people winning, go ahead and put a 3 in the comment section. All right? Let's get through this. Number 4, we said you need to set realistic goals. Again, goal setting is a vital tool for motivation and fulfillment. By establishing SMART goals, and we said that was specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound goals, you give yourself clear targets to aim for. You need to have a clear target. You need to know what you're working on. You say you want to be a winner, you need to know what you want to win at. This practice of goal setting not only organizes your efforts, but it also provides a structured way for you to achieve personal growth and satisfaction from your accomplishment. The other thing it does is it lets other people know how they can assist you. When you have a specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-sensitive or time-bound goal, it lets me know how I can help you. People ask me to help them with their resumes sometime. And one of the things I ask people, I say, okay, I'll help you, but I need to know, are you looking for a job right now? Are you looking for a job in the next 3 months, the next 6 months, or the next year? Because based on that, it's how we're going to structure this particular resume. But I have to know that. It needs to be specific, right? I'm measuring. When are you looking for a job? Okay? How soon? And so you need to have realistic goals. Goals are not bad. I know that some people in the church, they're like, well, I don't need a goal. I'm just going to ask God to do it whenever he want to do it. God is strategic. God is strategic. How do we know? Because the Bible tells us in Genesis how he established this world, right? He did this on the first day, this on the second day, this on the third day, this on the fourth day. On the fifth day, he did this. On the sixth day, he did this. On the seventh day, what did he do? He rested. God is strategic. And so there's nothing wrong with setting goals. I say it like this all the time. You have to be committed to your goals and committed to your outcomes, but you must stay flexible in the approach. Why? Because God may send you down a path, and when you get down that path, you thought that was the way you're going to go the whole time, but he already knew that when he got you so far, he was going to tell you to go right. So you got to be flexible. You got to be able to move as God is moving, yet still have the end goal in mind. All right. So you got to set realistic goals. Number 6, you got to practice mindfulness. You got to practice meditation. This word meditation just means to ponder. It means to mutter or to think upon. Mindfulness and meditation are powerful, powerful practices for managing stress and staying connected to the present moment. Even brief, small, daily sessions can enhance your mental clarity and emotional stability. For me, practicing mindfulness helps me to not let my emotions get out in front of me, right? When my emotions get high and my mind starts to race, one of the things I've learned over the last couple of years, really since the pandemic, is that walking helps me get rid of that. If I can go on a 4 or 5 or 6 or 8 mile walk, by the time I get back home, whatever was bothering me, I've had a chance to process it, to think about it, to go off if I needed to go off in my mind, but then also be able to hear Holy Spirit tell me what I need to do. It helped me stay in the moment. It helped me maintain my emotional stability, and it gave me greater awareness of what I needed to do to solve the problem. These practices, incorporating them into your life, will help you to develop a greater awareness of your thoughts and feelings, allowing you to manage them more effectively rather than being overwhelmed by them. When people hear mindfulness, they hear meditation, as Christians, we start to think something that it's not. This is not me chanting to some other God or me holding up, my fingers like I'm Rafiki from the Lion King or something like that. No, this is about me learning to settle the part of me that is emotional, because we are tripartite beings. We have a soul, we have a spirit and a body. Okay, my spirit man, if it's born again, is perfect. Okay, my spirit man is perfect. My body is a work in progress, depending on how I treat it. We'll talk about that in a minute. But my soul is needing constant development. I have to work it out every day. It's full of emotions that are raw, that are fleeting, that are temporal, and sometimes they're out of control. It's why the Bible doesn't say don't be angry. It says in your anger, don't sin. In other words, it says don't let anger overtake you. Anger is an emotion. Joy is an emotion. Sadness is an emotion, right? But we don't let those emotions overwhelm us. And when we start to feel overwhelmed, we have to know that this is a technique we can use to calm ourselves down. Because when you are calm, you make better informed long-term decisions. All right. And then number 7, we talked about man being a tripartite being. Well, part of that tripartite being is our physical bodies. We need to take care of our physical health. There is a very, very strong link between physical and mental health. Regular physical activity boosts our mood and our energy levels, while having a nutritious diet provides the necessary fuel for both body and the mind. Ensuring that you get enough sleep each night is equally crucial, as it affects your emotional and your cognitive function. Listen, I know there's a lot of people out there who call themselves Team No Sleep. Those are the people who say they can work 12 hours a day at their regular job and come home and work another 8 hours on their own business, and they only sleep for 4 hours. There may be seasons in your life that you do that, but sleeping 3, 4, 5 hours a night for long periods of time is not good for you. It's not good for you. You do not give your body the time, the ample time needed for your body to be able to work through cell rejuvenation, so that all of the things that's supposed to be happening in your body when certain functions shut down because you're asleep, you don't give your body a chance to do that. And when you don't do that for long periods of time, coupled with not eating properly, coupled with not moving your body, you are wearing your body out. And you don't get but one earth suit. And if you tear this earth suit up, you cannot be in the earth. So it is important that we understand that not only do we need physical well-being in our lives so that we can maintain our longevity on the earth, it's also connected to our mental well-being. Have you ever been hungry? Have you ever been tired and somebody asked you a question and you snapped on them? We actually have a name for that. It's called hangry, right? We actually have a name for that. Why? Because your emotions are tied to how you're feeling physically. And so it's important that we understand that we must take care of our physical health. Number 8, we got to learn to cope with stress effectively. We're not going to get rid of all the stress in our life forever. It's just not going to happen. But we can learn to live positively in these challenging times by learning how to cope with stress. The first thing you need to do in dealing with stress is you need to understand what triggers your stress. What triggers you may not trigger me. What triggers Darius may not trigger Kim. What triggers Kim may not trigger what triggers Angela. What triggers Angela may not trigger what triggers Michelle. Okay, it's important for you to understand that we all have different triggers, but we have to know what those triggers are. And once we know them, we have to develop a strategy to manage it so that we can improve the overall quality of our life. There are lots of techniques to help you. Things like deep breathing, okay? Taking deep breaths, right? Hitting the pause button before you speak. Learning to use mindfulness and meditation, right? It helps to calm your mind. It helps you to get in the right state so that you don't end up saying or doing something that you then have to come back and apologize for later, which just creates more stress and more consternation in your life. Implementing these regular practices and using these techniques can make them even more effective when you're facing stressful situations. The time to learn to do these things is not in the midst of a stressful situation. It is saying, you know what? I'm going to get in the habit of practicing mindfulness. I'm going to get in the habit of practicing meditation. I'm going to get in the habit of practicing an attitude of gratitude. I'm going to get in the habit of cultivating optimism. I'm going to work on my positive self-talk. I'm going to work on who I allow to be around me and how my environment is functioning. I'm going to work on all of these things. Why? Because I want to make sure that when the stressor comes, I've already been practicing how to do it. I want to make sure that I'm practicing those things and I'm taking care of my physical body so that I'm in a good shape to handle these storms. And then, of course, number nine is something I think is very important as we get ready to close. You need to learn to help other people. There's a thing called altruism. And what that means is that it is about you helping someone when they cannot help you back. Not only does this kind of help benefit those who need the help, but it also boosts in your mind a chemical that releases that allows your mood to improve. It gives you a sense of purpose, a feeling of happiness. Engaging in acts of kindness and volunteering in your community can make you feel more connected and more appreciated, reinforcing positive feelings and behaviors. In the Jewish community, they call it a mitzvah, and they are challenged to do a mitzvah every day. What's a mitzvah? A mitzvah is a deed that you do for someone when they can't do anything back for you. It can be something small. It can be holding the door for someone, right? The other day, I was in Conway, and I was at the Kroger in Conway, and I was going to the car. I was putting some stuff in the car. I had the Marlowe kids with me, and when I got ready to put my buggy up, I saw an older lady who was trying to put some groceries in her car, and she couldn't really lift the case of water that she had. I didn't want to startle her, so I just said, "Ma'am, do you need some help?" And I could tell when she looked, she was going to say no, but she really needed the help. And I said, "Just let me help you." And so I went over and I picked up the water, I put it in, I got her other stuff and started putting it in her car, putting it back of her car. And I said, "Hey, I'll walk this buggy back for you." And the look on her face, the relief that she had that she was able to get that stuff in her car. She wasn't going to have to walk the buggy all the way over there. Listen, that made me feel so good, and it cost me nothing but a few moments. It cost me nothing but a few moments. And so I'm telling you, if you feel like the weight of the world is on your shoulders and you feel like things aren't going right and you wish things were better and you think things feel like this and like that, go out and help somebody. Do something today to help somebody. Do something nice. If you're in line getting a Starbucks, pay for the person behind you. If you're in line getting grocery and you see somebody getting ready to buy something and they say, "Oh, well, I need you to put that back." If you can afford to do it, pay for it. And don't let them pay you back. Say, "No, I got it." Just say, just pay it forward. Just pay it forward. But help somebody. It costs you nothing to be kind. It's about 33 of you on here now. Can I get you to say that? Can I get you to type in the comment section? It costs me nothing to be kind. It costs me nothing to be kind. I'm going to say it again until I see about 15 or 20 people saying it. It costs me nothing to be kind. Help other people. When you do, it's going to reinforce those positive feelings and behaviors that you have. That's right. It costs me nothing to be kind. You can do this one right now today. Right between now and when you lay your head down tonight, you can do this one today. It costs you nothing to be kind. I'm not talking about sowing a seed. I ain't asking you to give me no money. I'm not talking about you necessarily give anybody else any money. Unless God directs you to do that, then you do what God tells you. But you can be nice. You can hold the door for someone. You can speak to someone. You can compliment someone. You can give someone a hug. You'd be amazed at what a small gesture like this can do for somebody. All right. And then finally, number 10, we're going to reflect and adjust. We're going to reflect and adjust. What do I mean by that? Regular reflection on your own emotional health, your own mental health, your own spiritual health, your own relational health, and your own vocational health. And the effectiveness of your coping strategies is crucial. Your reflection on how you personally deal with challenging times is so crucial. Because if you don't learn to deal with challenging times, the future is going to be so stressful for you. Because what is coming is worse than what we have seen. But we don't have to be afraid. We just need to learn the technique so that we can rise above the challenges. So we can rise above living like everybody else. This time of reflection, if you will take it, allows you to recognize what's working and what isn't working. It gives you the opportunity to adjust your approaches. So as you go through these 10 steps, right? We talked about practicing gratitude. We talked about cultivating optimism. We talked about engaging in positive self-talk. We talked about surrounding yourself with positive influences. We talked about setting realistic goals, practicing mindfulness and meditation, taking care of our physical health, learning to cope with stress effectively, helping other people, and then reflection. If 1 through 9, you find out that there's a more effective way to do it, I encourage you to do it. As long as it doesn't violate, I have to say this, as long as it doesn't violate the rules of God, because I'm a pastor, I'm not going to tell you to go do something because you feel good when it goes against the word. But 1 through 9, if you say, you know what, I got a more effective way to practice gratitude than waking up 10 minutes before I normally do, that's fine. Reflect on it, adjust, make the change, but do it and do it effectively. You should always be reflecting and adjusting because the reflection allows you to recognize what's working and what isn't. And it gives you the opportunity to adjust your approach. And continuously adjusting your approach and continuously learning from your experiences are the key to personal growth and resilience in facing life's challenges. And so that's what I wanted to share with you today on Ed Talk. I wanted to share with you 10 practical ways to live positively in these challenges time. This is season 3, episode 6, and I am your host, Pastor Strick, and I appreciate you so much for joining me today. Before you go, do one thing for me. Tell me which one of these 10 practices you're going to commit to do for the rest of this week. At least one. I gave you 10. Gave you 9, then told you to reflect. But I gave you 9 things you can actually do. Before you click off and leave, tell me one thing that you're going to do. I see a number 1. I'm assuming that means practice gratitude. So Kim says she's going to practice cultivating gratitude. There's more said the same thing. Going to practice gratitude. Gratitude and mindfulness and meditation. All right. Better self-talk. Man, that listen, I was talking to someone the other day and I was saying to them, man, you gotta have the right kind of self-talk. I see a couple of people saying 5, set better goals. Number 3, engaging in positive self-talk. Yep. I love it. Ms. Lewis, I'm doing all 10. I'm doing all 10. Listen, I try to. I really do. I try to do them, and I don't try to be rigid about them, but I've practiced them long enough that they're kind of just part of what I'm. And listen, if you need to change the wording of these, instead of saying practice gratitude, if you want to say be more thankful, that's fine. Do what works for you, but get the content and the concept of it. Okay. I see people still saying number 3 and number engaging in positive self-talk. I see a number 8, learn to cope with stress effectively. Yes, you got to. Listen, I'm 52 years old, and I can't tell you the number of 50-year-olds I know who've had heart attacks. I had a guy who went to high school with me, and he had a heart attack, and he went to the doctor, and the doctor told him it was absolutely stress-induced. He had no genetic makeup that would cause him to have, he didn't have any heart defects or anything. He had to manage that stress. He wasn't managing it. He had to learn to manage that stress. Don't let stress kill you. Don't do it. Josh, taking care of his physical health. Yep, got to. Got to have you around, Frat. You need to be here. Got to take care of that body. Got to eat well. Got to sleep well. Got to rest well. Manage that stress. You know, another way to manage stress, again, is that idea of number 9, helping other people. Find someone to be a blessing to. Find someone you can help. Find someone you can help. All right, listen, I appreciate you guys being here. Stay tuned. Ed Talk will be back. We won't be back next week, but we'll be back the week after. If you subscribe to the YouTube channel, and if you would subscribe to my podcast or go to my Facebook page, I always post when we're going to have Ed Talk. I always post when we're going to have Ed Talk. So that way you don't have to be wondering. I will tell you we will not be having Ed Talk next week, but we'll be back the week after that. We'll be back the week after that. And so I encourage you guys to, if you need to, go and browse. Even if you don't listen to it, go and browse season 1. Go and browse season 2. We have some really good practical things that can really help people, but you have to take advantage of it. Okay, you have to take advantage of it. So once again, I appreciate each and every one of you for joining me. I'm Pastor Strick, and this has been another episode, season 3, episode 6, and we were talking about living positively in challenges time. And I'm your pastor. I'm your host, Pastor Strick. I would love to be your pastor, but I'm your host, Pastor Strick, and I'll see you guys next time. God bless.